Hey guys, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. It has been so freaking long since I have filmed a video. As you guys can see, my last two videos were me finding out I'm pregnant and then me telling like my friends and family I'm pregnant. And now here we are and baby girl is here. Here is precious little baby Miley May. I love her so much. If you guys aren't following my TikTok or Instagram, definitely follow that because I post so much of her on there and just so much more about my life on there as well. I'm going to be finally sharing my birth story. I've gotten so many DMs and so many questions on when it's coming. So I'm finally going to film it for you guys. I did not make a birth vlog just because it was kind of like I wasn't planning on going into labor that night. I actually had my induction date set for 2 days later after that. My water just happened to break and it was kind of just like a spur of the moment thing where I wasn't thinking of picking up my camera and finding it. I'm just gonna be giving you guys all the details on from when my water broke until delivering the baby and all that good stuff. I also will eventually do a pregnancy Q&A too and like a postpartum Q&A, so let me know if you guys wanted to hear that because I didn't really talk about my pregnancy at all on here just because I had not like a bad pregnancy, but I did have a lot of scares. I was on pelvic rest my whole pregnancy, I was on bed rest, so there was a bunch of little things that went on. So if you guys follow my TikTok or my Instagram, you guys know I've talked about I was planning on having a C-section my whole pregnancy. Up until I think it was like 32 weeks, I found out that I will be able to deliver her vaginally, which was crazy because the past 7 years of my life, I've always just thought I was going to be having to have C-sections when I have kids. I did not want to have a C-section. The type of C-section I would have to have, I would have to get put to sleep. Like most people are awake during their C-sections, but I had scoliosis surgery 7 years ago. And so I have 2 metal rods and 19 screws in my spine, or in my back, holding my spine in place. So I never thought I was gonna be able to have an epidural. And then we met with the anesthesiologist just to see if it was possible around 32 weeks. And he said, my screws and rods are actually right above where the epidural goes. So I was like, what the heck? Like this whole pregnancy, I've been freaking out about having a C-section. And we found out that I would be able to have a vaginal delivery. And I was like, what the heck? So I ended up being able to have an epidural. So that was really good news. With all the complications I did have during my pregnancy, I was always told that I was going to be having her around like 37 weeks. And that would be like induced around that time. And then all my complications cleared around 34 weeks. So I found out that I would be able to just go into labor naturally with her, but I still thought it was going to happen like early just because like my whole mindset was always 37 weeks. But I ended up going all the way to 40 weeks with her. Okay, now let's get into how I went into labor. When I went into labor, it was Father's Day night. We just got into bed. We had only fallen asleep for like 30 minutes. And like I woke up, I thought I was in a dream, but I felt like a trickle down there. Like I thought I was peeing myself in my sleep, and I woke up, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this my water? And I sit up and I felt more come out. And I'm like, what the heck? When I go to stand up, and it like fully broke, a big gush. And it kept gushing, like every time I would move, sit a different way, stand up a different way. I never knew your water continues to break until you deliver the baby. I never knew that. So like anytime I would go to sit down, stand up, I was constantly just leaking amniotic fluid. So like I hurried up and woke up Cameron, and I like was really like scared. Like I was not scared of labor or like anything up until the moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening now. Like my water is broken. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is coming. I call the nurse, she says, go to the hospital now. So we get in the car, got everything packed. This happened at 12:30. My water broke at 12:30. We got to the hospital around 1:30. The hospital was only like 15 minutes away from my house, but it kind of took us a while to like fully function, like get everything ready and leave. So we got to the hospital around 1:30. And we were in triage, and they had to check to make sure it was my water, and that took about 30 minutes for the results to come back, which I knew it was my water. I'm like, there's no way this is me just peeing myself. Like this is not pee, this is amniotic fluid. Like I just knew. And so she came back in, she was, okay, your water is like actually broken and we're gonna admit you now, we're gonna get you into a room. So we get into the room. Well, first they checked me to see how dilated I was. I forgot to say this, but at 37 weeks I was dilated to 1 centimeter. And then at 30, I think it was 39 weeks is when I was 2 centimeters and 80% effaced. So I really thought she was going to come in my 39 weeks since I was already 2 centimeters dilated and 80% effaced. She just didn't want to come until after 40 weeks or right around 40 weeks. So I got checked and she's like, yeah, you're 4 centimeters and you're like 90% effaced or whatever. I was like, oh gosh, like I'm scared, like this baby is going to be coming soon. We got admitted. We kind of just like hung out all night because like I was having contractions, but it wasn't anything serious. Like it was just kind of just like period cramps. And so you're kind of just like a waiting game when your water breaks for contractions to pick up. They were definitely like every like 2 to 3 minutes like normal, but they just weren't hurting me. It was weird. My mom and husband were always like, you're doing so good, like you're literally about to have this baby and you're like not in pain. Like it was weird. My contractions were not like what a lot of people say. It's different for everyone, but I got lucky on that end. Like I didn't have like painful contractions. I mean, towards the last 30 minutes they got painful, but like everything leading up was just like period cramps. So from around 2:30 a.m. to like 9:30 a.m. it was really just a waiting game. Like I barely slept that night. Like it was kind of just like, what the heck. 9:30 a.m. they checked me again and I was only 5 centimeters dilated. I was like, what the heck? I just went all night, all these hours, and I only went up 1 centimeter. I was very like discouraged. I was like, what the heck? So anyways, that was around 9:30 and it was kind of just more waiting. By the way, my whole labor was only 12 hours. I forgot to say that. Apparently it's fast for a first-time mom. A lot of first-time moms go like 24 hours, sometimes even more in labor. So from the time I got to the hospital delivering her, it was around 12 hours. That time I got checked at 9:30 and again, I was only 4 centimeters like I just said. It was kind of just like a waiting game and I didn't know when I wanted to get the epidural because I wasn't in pain, but I didn't want to wait too long because like I heard if you wait too long, like it's too late, like you have to deliver naturally. So I was like, I don't know if I should get the epidural yet. Like I don't want to get it and then it wear off or something. I started to feel a little bit of pressure and I was like, maybe I should get the epidural. So I got the epidural around 11 a.m. It worked because like I was feeling the contractions, they just weren't painful. And then after that, I wasn't really feeling them. Around 1 p.m. I think it was, is when I felt like a lot of pressure. And I was like, can you guys please check me? Like I'm feeling a lot of pressure. So they checked, my nurse checks me and I was 6 centimeters dilated. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm dilating so slow. Like it's gonna be forever. This is the part where it gets crazy. Around 1 p.m. I was 6 centimeters dilated and she told me that with first-time moms, you usually only dilate 1 centimeter every hour after you're 6 centimeters. So I was like, okay, so I have another like 4 hours to go. So you obviously can't deliver until you're 10 centimeters dilated. And like 30 minutes go by and I'm like, holy cow, like I feel this baby coming out of me. And like I was like begging her to check me again. She goes, you were just 6 centimeters, you were fine. Like she's not coming right now, like you were just 6 centimeters. And I'm like, I promise you, like if I push, I will deliver this baby. Like I felt it and I knew I wasn't going crazy because like I've never felt this much pressure, like this whole labor, like this is her coming out, like please check me. So she had my doctor come in to check me this time, all within a span of like 30 minutes. And also after I found out it was 6 centimeters dilated and thought we only had like 4 hours, my mom went down to get lunch because my mom and husband were in the room with me. My mom went down to get lunch because we were like, we still have a while, you can go down to get lunch. So she goes down and gets lunch. And literally my doctor comes in, checks me, and he's like, are you ready to start pushing? This was 30 minutes after I was told I was only 6 centimeters dilated. I was like, holy cow. I look at my husband, I'm like, call my mom, like my mom can't miss this, like call her. So she had literally just ordered her food and she like ran upstairs, got in the room. So we got all ready, all the doctors and nurses, all the people that are like in the room when you deliver a baby come in. Also, this was like a crazy thing. Well, first he said, are you ready to start pushing? And I think he meant like practice pushing because I was 9.5 centimeters. He said, I have a client at the office I have to run to get to. It's only like 10 minutes away and then I'll be back. I'm like, you cannot leave. Like this is my doctor that's delivering my baby. I was like, please don't leave. Like I feel this baby coming out. And he said, I'll be like right back in like 30 minutes. So he leaves and then like all of a sudden I feel a huge urge and my nurse, please call him back. Like I need him up here. Like I am going to push this baby out. Like I feel it. So he comes running back and checks me again. He's like, okay, you're 10 centimeters. You were fully effaced. Like it's go time. So like I was so scared he was gonna miss it. I'm like, dude, I need my doctor here to deliver this baby. So this is the part where it's just all kind of blurry for me in a way. So I started pushing. Thankfully, I was only pushing for 15 minutes, which is really fast for a first-time mom. Some people push for hours, which I literally cannot imagine because the 15 minutes I was pushing felt like forever. And also at this time, my epidural was not fully working because I have like scar tissue in my back from my scoliosis. And I was freaking out because I started feeling a lot of pain. They called it hot spots. I guess when you feel certain pains when the epidural's not working in certain spots, so they had to hurry up and call the anesthesiologist back in to put some other medicine in there. I don't know if it was still the epidural medicine or what it was, to really make sure I'm numb, because I'm like, I started feeling like everything. So thankfully that worked. I was just feeling a lot of pressure, which is normal even with the epidural. So I was pushing, and then her heart rate started dropping, and this is where it kind of all gets scary. He said we might have to get the vacuum if this baby isn't going to be coming, because her heart rate is dropping and they need this baby out of me like as soon as possible, so she makes it, obviously. And when I heard the vacuum, I was like, oh my gosh, that is terrifying. I've heard like horror stories with the vacuum. It's literally like they have this machine, they suck the baby out with a machine, some type of vacuum thing. And so I started pushing for dear life, and her heart rate was still dropping, and he's like, I'm gonna have to cut you, is that okay? It's called an episiotomy. And I didn't really know what this was. I wasn't that educated on vaginal delivery, like, because I thought my whole pregnancy, I thought I was gonna have a C-section. And I turned and look at my mom like, is this normal? She goes, yes, just do it, because obviously she'll come out faster. So he cut me. I obviously didn't feel it. And then a few pushes later, she came out. She got around my chest. She wasn't crying right away, which really concerned me. And then she started crying. I was like, thank gosh. But I did lose a lot of blood during delivery, so that was the hardest part, because I was so out of it. Like, I couldn't even focus. They put her right on my chest right away, so I held her right away. And then they obviously had to take her to like get her all cleaned up and stuff. And I didn't hold her for the first 2 hours because of how out of it I was. And that's like the traumatic part for me. I had a pretty smooth labor and delivery. Like, people have it way worse. Like, I know I had it really smooth, but just the fact I lost so much blood, my hemoglobin's been low, like I'm on iron pills still because of it all. That was just a really scary thing, because I was like falling asleep. Like, I could not stay up, like I couldn't focus. And it was the first 2 hours of her being born. My husband was holding her the whole time because I couldn't even hold her. I was so out of it. Like, I feel like after she was delivered, it was all a blur that whole first like day, at least the first few hours. Like, I was just so out of it. But I am so lucky that she came out very healthy. Like, everything's just been perfect with her, which I'm so blessed about, because my whole pregnancy I was just so scared about something happening, and just because she gave us a lot of scares during my pregnancy. And then after those first few hours, I was able to hold her, and everything just became magical. And ever since, it's been literally amazing. She has been such a blessing. My postpartum experience, the first week was very hard, just because I was healing down there. And when you heal from an episiotomy, apparently my doctor told me, or my nurse told me, that I actually saw this past week, that it's a lot harder than if you were to just tear naturally. So I was like, wow, that all makes sense. Well, I'm like in so much pain. Like, I couldn't even sit like this for a whole week. I was always having to sit on my side or lay down. The bassinet was on my husband's side the whole first like week and a half, because I couldn't even sit up to pick her up in the middle of the night. Like, I was in so much pain, so sore down there, until I guess when the stitches healed, that's when it got better. The first week was definitely hard postpartum for physically, but everything else was pretty good, pretty smooth. It's been amazing. I just had my 6-week checkup this past week, and I'm cleared to start living my life again, which I'm super excited about. Also got my first period postpartum this past week, and that was rough. Like, this whole week I've been bleeding so much. Like, your first period postpartum is freaking insane. I went to the doctors twice this week because I thought I was losing too much blood. But checked my hemoglobin again, and my iron is still low. Yeah, that first period, that was rough. But thankfully, it's all getting better. It's just part of having a baby. But it's been amazing. She is such a blessing, and I'm so lucky to have her. She is literally my best friend. Like, I stare at her all day, every day, and I literally, like, there's times where I literally start crying. I'm like, Cameron, like, I love her so much. Like, I don't know what I would do without her. But it's just been so amazing. That was my birth story for you guys. Let me know what videos you guys want to see, because I do want to start making YouTube videos again, especially now that I have a baby. Like, I want to be able to like document her life, and I can't wait to like look back on these days, and for her to look back on her childhood. Like, I can't wait for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what video you guys want to see next. I'll do either a pregnancy video or postpartum Q&A, or like morning routines, day in my life, just a lot of mom life, I guess, because that is my new life. She has just been sleeping. She is an angel. I love her so much. I could talk about her all day.